Do you ever feel overwhelmed by the ever-changing world of technology? Tech It Out can help make some sense of it all. Breaking down geek speak into street speak, technology columnist, author, and TV personality Mark Saltzman covers consumer technology each week for every listener. Mark tackles the latest news, reviews, and how-tos to help you understand what's hot, what's not, and why.
Hey everyone, welcome to Tech It Out. This is episode 304. Hope you're having a great day today. Heck, not just today. Hope your entire month of July has been stellar so far. I've done a bit of work travel, had some fun at pool parties with friends, hanging out with my kids, two of whom are home from college. One of them is up north working at an overnight camp, a sleepaway camp, and we've been dog sitting for friends as well, which I love. Hey, on the tech front, it was another big week with Threads reaching 100 million new subscribers in about 5.5 days. Wow, that's Mark Zuckerberg's answer to Twitter, and it's built on the Instagram platform. I wrote an article for USA Today last week that outlines what you may be giving away, privacy-wise, in exchange for using this free app. But hey, it's really not too different than other social media apps, to be honest. I interviewed a couple of industry vets for this article. Dan Ackerman, who's CEO of Gizmodo, as well as Tim Beheron, a seasoned analyst in the tech space. It was also Amazon Prime Day last week, Tuesday and Wednesday, which no doubt saw tens of millions of people around the globe shopping for deep discounts last week. We talked about Prime Day a lot last week on this show. Anyhow, we have a great Tech It Out plan for you this hour as well. We're going to kick things off with the latest video game report in a moment with the Entertainment Software Association. It's about who is playing and why. The answers may surprise you. Speaking of gaming, we talk with RiotPWR on the show about its latest gaming controller for iPhone and iPad. It does a few extra things that other gaming controllers can't. And finally, Pinwheel will join us to talk about its PinwheelGPT. It's basically an AI chatting platform for kids. All of this and more on an all-new Tech It Out, powered by ASUS for those in search of incredible. I'll tell you more about ASUS shortly, but let's officially kick off this week's show with our first interview. Covering the video game industry for more than a quarter of a century, I'm always intrigued at who is playing games exactly, especially when it shatters stereotypes, as well as what we're playing, on which devices, and why we play. Always look forward to the annual Essential Facts About Video Games report from the ESA, the Entertainment Software Association. And we're now going to learn about the latest findings as we're joined by President and CEO of the ESA, Stanley Pierre-Louis. Welcome back to the show, Stan. Always great to chat with you.
Thanks so much. I'm really looking forward to this conversation.
Me too. I had a chance to read through the 2023 Essential Facts About the Video Game Industry. It's that annual report that I alluded to. But before we get to that, can you tell us a bit about the ESA? What's the goal of the organization?
The ESA serves as the voice and advocates for the U.S. video game industry. We are a trade association based in Washington, D.C., and we really work to expand and protect the dynamic marketplace for video games and to enhance the public trust in what we do. From a policy perspective, we spend time with regulators and government officials at the state and federal level and talk about technology and intellectual property issues. We also conduct an annual survey looking at the demographics and attitudes about video games, which is what we're here to talk about today. And then part of us is also the ESRB, the Entertainment Software Rating Board, which really provides the ratings around games that parents and caregivers find so helpful in making their purchasing decisions.
Right. That's that little letter often in the corner of the box of the video game, like T for teen, E10 for everyone 10 plus, M for mature, and so on. And you also host events, Stan. I know that recently you had something about gaming and aging, right, for seniors.
You know, we've learned so much about the demographics of video games. And one of the organizations we've partnered with over the years is the AARP.
Sure.
Because their most popular site on their website is their video game website page. And they conducted a study, and we partnered with them in making sure we got the word out about older gamers and how valuable it is in terms of playing games, in terms of keeping your mind sharp, but also in terms of connecting in that multi-generational fashion.
Great point. It's not just about entertainment, but staying in touch with those who matter. I play a game of Words with Friends with my mom every day over our phone or tablet, and it's great because we get to chat as well as take turns playing the word game. Just for full transparency, I contribute to AARP as well. So Stan, what is the annual Essential Facts report, and what do you set out to find each year?
Every year, the ESA conducts a survey that tries to understand the U.S. player demographics, their perceptions, their demographics, and why they play. And we think it's important in terms of trending, but also to make sure that our industry not only knows what the public thinks, but also can really help reinforce what the public values about games. And so every year, it's our opportunity to test where we are and to find out what people think. And one of those is that the overwhelming Americans, whether they play games or not, agree that video games really provide positive benefits. Some 96% of Americans say video games provide positive benefits.
I would agree 100%. And what were some of the key takeaways from this year's study, Stan? So the 2023 essential facts. Why don't we go through them?
One of the big takeaways we have is that everyone plays. Every demographic, every gender, every ethnicity, everyone is playing games. Across the ages, we're seeing that people are engaging and enjoying video game play. About half the players are women. This year, it was 46% women and 53% male. And the average player is around 32 years old, and the average player has been playing for about 21 years. What that means is you have just as many people over 45 playing as you do under 18. Video games have been around long enough where it's now a sustained piece of people's lives, and they engage in it at very high levels.
What is your criteria for those who say they're a gamer? Is there a certain number of games they have to play or a certain amount of time per week?
Sure. Every year we ask players, do you play at least 1 hour per week? And that seems to be a baseline of whether someone is a regular gamer. And depending on the demographic, that can be, much higher or closer to that hour, including with others.
And does it matter what platform they play on? I mean, is it fair to say someone tapping away on their iPhone in line at a supermarket is as much as a gamer as someone in front of an Xbox or PlayStation or Nintendo console?
One of the great things about games is that you can play on any platform, anywhere, at any time. And people are connecting over those. In terms of how people play and the platforms they use, the most popular platform is the smartphone. It's the thing we carry around with most of us, and 64% of people play with their smartphones. About 54% of people play with consoles, about 45% with PCs or laptops, and then it goes down from there. Tablets and VR have less, but they're growing. What's interesting about the smartphone is that most people who play on the smartphone also play on another device. Only about 12% of people play solely on their smartphone. Almost 60% play on multiple platforms, including smartphones.
Interesting. I read, Stan, that 212 million Americans now play games. So that's 2/3 of the entire country consider themselves a gamer.
That's exactly right. Across all the demographics, we found that over 212 million people play games in the United States. And what that tells us is the trend is sustained itself since the pre-pandemic days. We're in a phase now, interestingly enough, where people are back out and we're excited about being out and about post-pandemic. But what we're seeing is if you look at the pre-pandemic numbers and our current numbers, that trend is still rising. And so we're picking up exactly where we left off pre-pandemic days.
We are chatting about the 2023 essential facts about the video game industry. This is an annual report by the Entertainment Software Association, or the ESA for short. We're chatting with President and CEO Stanley Pierre-Louis. We are unpacking this report. And does the ESA have data on why we play? We touched on this a little bit earlier about it's not just about being entertained, but staying in touch.
Well, as a father of a teenager, I can tell you the number one reason is fun. It's so entertaining and it's so engaging. Beyond that, people enjoy playing with one another. In fact, 80% of video game players play with others, either in person or online in some fashion. Those numbers is way up compared to prior years. Around 71% of players say games do a good job of creating welcoming and inclusive environments. And we're also finding that 76% of parents play with their children in some way, shape, or form.
Love that.
And so more and more you're seeing that people are using games to stay in contact with each other. In fact, half of the players say that they've met a good friend, a spouse, or significant other through games.
I just read the book Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. It also talked about the connections that people make while playing games. And in this case, with this book, developing games as well. It was really interesting, an atypical love story, if you haven't read this book yet. Could you tell us a bit about how games can contribute to our mental health?
Sure. More and more we're seeing that people are playing for a variety of reasons that really help with mental stimulation and stress relief. And that's particularly important in this post-pandemic era in which we find ourselves. About 90% of players say that video games provide mental stimulation and stress relief, and it also improves cognitive skills. And they all agree that it really helps with problem solving, teamwork, and collaboration. So video games have this way of not only drawing us in and relieving us, but also connecting us in ways to work together better. Video game players are building empathy and cultural sensitivity through gameplay. When you play as another character, you're really able to embody someone else and see life through someone else's eyes.
Great point. And it's interesting how games can either be relaxing or stimulating, or both.
It's the yin yang of gameplay.
Love it. And as we wrap up, Stan, let's talk about video games as a platform to build diverse communities. You hinted a bit about this when you can play as someone else in a game. Can you talk a bit more about bridging other communities or building more empathy in real life?
Games are most relevant when they reflect the audience of gamers. And more you're seeing games told from various perspectives and increasingly from underrepresented community. And that's important because as you look at the community of gamers, it really reflects the demographics of America. And so more and more you're seeing various opportunities for women and people from underrepresented groups to participate in storytelling, to tell their stories in games, and it will continue for a long time to come.
I think it's fantastic. So Stan, without further ado, where can we learn more? And can we read the full 2023 Essential Facts About the Video Game Industry report?
Yes, the full report is available on our website, www.theesa.com/facts.
All right, theesa.com/facts. Stan, always great chatting with you. Congrats on this new report.
Thank you so much.
We'll be right back with more Tech It Out.
Listen to Tech It Out whenever you want. Find the Tech It Out podcast at iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back to Tech It Out. This show is powered by ASUS for those in search of incredible. ASUS creates technology for today and tomorrow's smart life, and that includes its line of award-winning laptops and desktops, accessories like monitors, mice, and keyboards. There's mobile tech like smartphones and tablets, smartwatches, and much more. For those in search of incredible, visit asus.com/US/radio for more info. That's asus.com/US/radio. Gaming is one of the most popular applications on a smartphone. In fact, a phone is a powerful gaming system for your pocket. And while not all games can benefit from a console-like controller, think, tap and swipe games like Royal Match or Monopoly Go, Gardenscapes, and so on, many games could benefit from a comfortable controller instead of your fingertips on the screen. And so we're now going to learn about the new RiotPWR RP1950 with the CEO of RiotPWR, Fraser Townley. Hi, Fraser. Thanks for your time today.
Hey, Mark. It's a pleasure.
Great. Before we talk about RiotPWR, the RP1950 is your latest controller. Talk to us about how popular gaming is on mobile, and why do you think that is?
Well, so gaming on mobile is huge. It's growing rapidly. When we look at the size of the market, so the gaming market can be divided into three sectors: PC, console, and mobile. Mobile is by far the largest of those three sectors, and it's one of the fastest growing. There's two reasons for that. First of all, we all have the phone. We have the gaming console in our pocket. Casual gaming is huge, but the growth, because of 5G, the growth in cloud-based gaming is going through the roof.
All right, so that's the ability to play against others over the internet, or even if the game isn't stored locally on the phone. Cloud gaming also implies that you're playing it in the cloud where it's stored somewhere else, like on the game company's servers and such, right? Just to clarify.
Yes, absolutely right. So if you take Xbox, for instance, the Xbox Game Pass allows you or gives you access to this huge library of Xbox games that's held in the cloud and it's processed in the cloud.
It's not stored on your phone itself.
Correct.
Just little bits of it.
It's just the video that's coming down onto the game. Even when you use the controller, the signal is going up into the cloud and all of the processing is going on in the cloud. Provided you have fast internet, which 5G is, or you're on a home Wi-Fi, you're going to have a fantastic gaming experience.
Yeah.
But this is why our controller is important. It doesn't have a Bluetooth connection. So the latency that you ordinarily get with a Bluetooth controller to your smartphone is eradicated.
So there's a lag issue, in other words, with some wireless controllers. Yours is wired, so it has to plug into the phone. Got it. And there are benefits. And just before we move on, Fraser, other reasons why mobile gaming is so popular is vast selection. I would argue there are over 1 million games, and that's a conservative estimate at the App Store or Google Play. And many of them are free or close to it. So there's so many reasons why. And as you said, everybody's got a smartphone, right? So I wanted to call that out. With that in mind, tell us about the RiotPWR RP1950. And for our listeners, the company RiotPWR is spelled IROTPWR. That's how it's stylized in print.
That's correct.
Yeah. So tell us about the controller.
So we started with mobile gaming and we focused on Apple products. They had the biggest library of controller compatible games to date. They still have it. So we created a controller that works with Apple devices. It's a lightning connected controller. We have it lightning connected because it's the wired solution that we talked about. It's full size because we believe that as the market grows more and more into cloud-based gaming, people are going to be gaming for a lot longer. It's not casual gaming anymore. It's really serious gaming. And therefore, you need the full-size controller in order to give you this extended play comfort when you're actually gaming. So it's a full-size controller, got all the buttons and triggers that gamers are looking for. Additionally, it has a power pass-through, so you can charge your phone whilst you are gaming on your phone. So there's no fear that your controller or your phone is going to run out of power while you're playing for extended periods of time.
All right. So just to be clear, this is a wired controller for iPhone only at this point, not Android, correct? Not this model.
We actually have an Android product. You introduced the 1950. The 1925 is for Android.
Okay.
But you can't have... Unfortunately, because of the protocols within each of the different mobile devices, if you make a product for Apple, it won't work on Android and vice versa.
Okay.
And just to be clear, yes, it's iPhone, but also iPod and iPad.
Okay, so iPod Touch, iPad, and iPhone, the RiotPWR RP1950 plugs into the lightning port at the bottom of the device, and it has throughput support, which means you can also charge up your phone by plugging it into the wall with the same cable that you have for the controller. You said it also keeps the controller charged up. Does it need power, or does it get that from the phone?
The controller draws the power it needs to function from the phone. But just to be clear, it draws less power than a set of earbuds, so it's very efficient. And also, to be clear, the 1950, that particular model comes with a second cable. So the cable that we have plugged into the phone, it has a proprietary connection on the controller so that the cable can be replaced. And because of that, we're able to include a USB-C cable for anyone who has an iPad Pro or an iPad Mini or the new iPad 10 that have a USB-C connection, not a Lightning connector.
As well as iPad Air. It's also USB-C based. And that's what I game on. I don't actually game on my iPhone. I use it as a phone or texting or whatever, but I love the bigger screen.
How old-fashioned of you.
I know. But I love gaming on my iPad. You know, all kinds of games. And that leads me to my next question. I'll ask it in a moment. We're chatting with Fraser Townley from RiotPWR about its new game controller for both iPhone and iPad and a separate one for Android gaming. Earlier in the show, we heard that smartphones were the most popular platform for gaming today. Stick with us. We'll be right back.
Want to follow Mark? Google him. Mark with a C and Saltzman with a Z. Breaking down geek speak into street speak. This is Tech It Out. Tech It Out with technology columnist, author, and TV personality Mark Saltzman.
Welcome back, everyone. You're listening to Tech It Out. We are chatting with Fraser Townley. He's CEO of a company called RiotPWR. Him and his engineers have developed what's called the RiotPWR RP1950 for iOS devices or iPad. This allows you to play games that support a controller. With that in mind, how many games would you estimate that your device works with? And what kinds of games would you suggest it's ideal for?
on the App Store, there is over 1,200 games that our controller is compatible with. There is now Apple Arcade, which has over 200 games.
Yeah, love it.
That's additional. But then you've got the full library of Xbox, which is also open to you. We can play remote play games from PlayStation. So it's really endless. But I also want to point out that we can also, through the phone, we can also control drones, remote control vehicles, submersibles, and what have you. So we say thousands of games, thousands of uses for our controller.
What would you say are some of the more popular games that your RP 1950 works with?
Straight from the App Store is absolutely Call of Duty Mobile.
Sure.
Is a big game for us. Minecraft, which is an omni-platform game. So you can play Minecraft on your phone, play in the world that somebody's created on their Xbox, provided you're on the same network. Minecraft's a big game. A lot of racing games. The Formula One mobile racing game, that's a terrific game that you can play on the phone with our controller. There's this vast array of games. So there's puzzles, there's first-person shooters, there's racing games. It's quite terrific. And most of the AAA grade games that people like to play, if you can't play them through the cloud, there is a mobile version of the game, and it's not a, in the past, they used to be, I don't want to say, they were downgraded games.
Sure.
They're not downgraded graphically or play-wise anymore. They're just smaller versions of the game. You can complete the game in a shorter period of time, and that's because you can't download all of the assets and hold them on your phone.
Right.
Grand Theft Auto. All of the Grand Theft Auto, the majority of the Grand Theft Auto library is available on mobile these days. So a lot of classic games are now fully playable on the phone.
You mentioned racing games for sure with a controller, first-person shooters like Call of Duty, action and platforming games. That all makes sense. I'd also add sports to that list of genres. When I was at the Apple Worldwide Developer Conference a couple weeks ago, and I saw the communications guy, the PR person who I work with on Apple Arcade, I asked him, what is the most popular game on the Apple Arcade subscription service?
NBA.
Yeah, no surprise there, NBA 2K23. So that is something I would think is ideal, conducive for a controller. Before we wrap up and talk pricing and where to buy it and all that, can you talk to us a bit about the controller itself? Since this is radio or podcast, if our listeners want to visualize what it looks like, I keep saying console-like controller, but it does have like a 4-way D-pad and an analog stick and buttons and all that, right?
Sure. So it's got a traditional layout of the ABXY face buttons.
Sure.
Next to, diagonally up from the right joystick. The left joystick is diagonally to the left.
Yeah, I'm looking at a picture of that. It's very much like an Xbox controller, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, listen, they've spent $100 million developing an Xbox. And in truth, what they did is they just made it super comfortable. And that's become the template for most controllers these days. If you actually have a controller in your hand and you put your thumb on the right joystick, for instance, you're rotating your thumb to the ABXY. You're not arching it or crunching your thumb trying to move it around. And this is what makes our controller different to all of the other mobile controllers that are out there. There are lots of controllers. My engineering team and I have worked on all of the top selling mobile controllers. We either invented it, created it, or helped ideate these mobile controllers. But in truth, they have limitations in terms of how long you can play a game for, because you're affecting the way you're using your fingers and your muscles and the tendons in your hands. Whereas a full-size controller, it alleviates all of that. So yes, you can buy smaller compromised controllers, but they're only good for 30 to 45 minutes. Extended play, you need a full-size controller, and that's why we're focused on the design of our controller the way we have.
And I see there's a flap on the front of the controller where you can lift it up. What's underneath that?
So that's actually a port to stand the device post into. So we don't strap our device post to the back of the controller that creates a weight imbalance on your wrists. We put it in the middle of the controller. We call it 0G, but when you pick up our controller with your device attached to it, it feels weightless.
Oh, I see a video here. Yeah, I see. So you can prop your phone up. Does that stand come with the controller and it's just optional?
It does come with the controller. So you get the controller, you get the stand. The 1950 that you were talking about, the RP1950 that's available in Apple stores, that comes with the device controller and the second USB-C cable.
And then just quickly, the RiotPWR, does it require an app or is it truly plug and play?
It's truly plug and play. We have an app which we recommend you use to help you filter out which games are controller compatible, because as you said, there are millions of games on the App Store, but only about 1,200 to 1,300 outside of arcade and the cloud-based gaming are controller compatible. So
fair enough.
We have an app which gives you advice, but it really is that. It's a companion app and it's not needed for playing. This is truly plug and play.
Yeah. Well, there's so much more we haven't even got to, like the support for audio, DAC, and like headphones and all that. So there's a website I'm sure you could plug, and let's talk pricing and where we can buy this.
Sure. So there's a greater spec available on RiotPWR.com. Products are available in Apple stores, Best Buy. We're online in Walmart, Target, and Amazon, of course.
All right. And the price?
Price for the 1950 is $69.99. In Canada, it's $89.99.
Okay. And RiotPWR.com, again, it's spelled RiotPWR.com. You can download the RiotPWR app from the App Store or Google Play. It's been great chatting with you, Fraser. Congrats on the launch of this new handset. If our listeners are on Android, again, it's the RP1925, which is a different product altogether, but you can also learn more about that at RiotPWR.com. Thanks so much for your time.
Thanks so much, Mark. Have a great weekend. Thank you.
You're listening to Tech It Out on the Radio America Network. Don't forget, coming up after this short break, we're going to chat with Pinwheel, the makers of those kid-centric smartphones, about PinwheelGPT, an AI program specifically for kids. I just want to take a moment to give a shout out to Visa. Thank you for your support on Tech It Out. Did you know that shoppers are 3 times more likely to enter an unfamiliar store if it displays a Visa logo? And customers are 5 times more likely to think a merchant is reputable. This is because Visa has invested billions over the years in fighting fraud. So you don't need to think twice about using your Visa card online or at retail, nor should businesses be concerned about secure payments. To learn more about Visa's work in protecting you and your purchases, visit visa.com/security. We'll be right back with more Tech It Out.
Breaking down geek speak into street speak. Tech It Out, hosted by Mark Saltzman.
Welcome back to Tech It Out. You don't even need to be into tech to know the phrase ChatGPT. It's an artificial intelligence or AI chatbot that you can interact with that's quite intelligent with what it can do. But would you let your kids chat with an AI bot? Fortunately, there are some safe AI apps for kids, including one that just launched from popular kid-safe smartphone maker Pinwheel. Joining us to chat about this is Pinwheel CEO and founder Dane Witbeck. Hey Dane, good to chat with you.
Hi, Mark. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Now, hey, before we talk about PinwheelGPT and Pinwheel, the company as well, let's first bring everybody up to speed. In plain English, what is this generative AI chatbot that everyone's talking about?
Yeah, so generative AI is a term that refers to any computer's ability to make content that is generated completely by the computer. So you can imagine it in images or in video or in written form as well. And so computers have become very good at making content that's hard to distinguish from something that a person would make. And when you talk about ChatGPT, you're talking about a text specific, so only written words type of generative AI that is capable of communicating very similar to how a human talks, and very hard to tell that it's not human actually when it talks back to you, except that it will tell you that it's not human if you ask it.
But like you're saying, yeah, it's very conversational and intelligent, and it can create content. I think that's where college professors are concerned about with kids handing in essays, you know, that you can ask ChatGPT, write a 800-word essay about whatever, fill in the blank. It'll do so. And if somebody else asks it, it'll be a bit different. And that's where it gets harder to detect plagiarism, which is one of the downsides, I guess, to this technology. But when it comes to the positive applications of products like ChatGPT, can you name a few? Can you give us some examples of how people are using this?
Oh my gosh, the positives are so many. For example, when I first handed over a chatbot to my kids and just wanted to see how they'd interact with it, the very first thing they did was ask it to tell them a story. Of course, kids are very creative by their nature. And so it said, cross Sonic the Hedgehog with Star Wars and build me a story that would be, interesting and entertaining. And it just immediately did, right? It comes out with a story that insert Sonic into Star Wars, right? And it knows about these characters, and it knows about, all kinds of things that a human would know about. And so that's just one sort of silly example. But as far as, more important examples, it can teach kids to code, for example. It can come up with code examples and answer questions if you're learning about coding. It can answer questions about history, about math. It can really be a mentor to a kid in their academic studies, which is obviously a big part of kids' lives. It can be a mentor in their sports journey as they are learning about different ways. And for sports, it can be a career mentor. I mean, it can tell you just about all kinds of topics. And so it really is an amazing tool that our kids need to learn how to leverage.
And that's a good segue into kids using ChatGPT and other generative AI programs. What's wrong with young ones chatting with an AI bot?
Yeah, that's a great question. Like many personal technologies in our lives today, they're not designed with kids in mind. Companies are looking for the largest market they can find, and adults are a much larger market than kids. And so it's just obvious that they're not going to, it's not because they're evil or bad, they're just not going to think about a small niche like kids at first. And those usually come much, much later, and they're usually much less developed products. The same thing we found in our smartphone journey, right? It's just not designed for kids. And the same with these AI chatbots. They're not thinking about kids. And so what does that mean? It means that it might give a kid an answer that is appropriate for an adult, but not appropriate for a kid. The other thing is they can definitely give inaccurate answers. This is new technology, and it can definitely what they call hallucinate, which means it can just make stuff up sometimes. And it can sound very authoritative when it does it. And that can be confusing to a kid. And so for those reasons, I think it's definitely important that parents be cautious and careful about what they put in front of their kids and really come along with the kid on their digital journey.
With that all in mind then, Dane, talk to us about your company, Pinwheel, and what you've been doing to date in the hardware space. And then let's chat PinwheelGPT, which just launched at the end of June.
Yeah, so I'm a dad of 4 kids, and starting about 4 years ago, I got really concerned about the technology that I was putting in the hands of my kids, and especially smartphones. Smartphones are a special category of electronic devices because we carry them with us all the time, and they have this ability to take our attention from us at any moment. And I really did not want my kids subject to technology that was built for adults first. And so I started researching all the parental controls and all the built-in controls in the smartphones, and I really found that they were severely lacking for me and my family. And so I decided to solve that problem. And we put together a bunch of software that goes onto a smartphone that's called Pinwheel. And instead of having to set it up yourself, we actually combine the software with the phone and sell it as a complete product. We don't make the hardware. They're phones like Samsung and Google Pixel. So they're phones that they're good hardware. But the thing is, we've combined 6 or 7 pieces of software, preloaded it for you, have it all the way configured so that when you pull it out of the box, it's just ready to go. It's set up as a kid's phone. And that really is just more convenient for families. And it's really resonated with the market. And we've grown just really quickly. We have over 60 employees now here in Austin and around the world. And we're just really excited to bring a kid-safe and kid-appropriate smartphone to market.
All right. You were saying, though, just to be clear, Pinwheel isn't a branded piece of hardware itself. You work with other manufacturers?
Yeah, exactly. So, smartphones are largely a commodity. They're a camera and a nice CPU and a nice screen. And so we didn't see any differentiation in actually building the hardware. It's really a software company. But what we found in our research is that setting up a phone for a kid takes a parent like 2 hours if they can even get through it at all. Very frustrating process. And even when you do that, you often have loopholes and things you didn't think about. It's just a job that somebody should sort of do for the parent, right? And so as a company that provides this product, we build all the software, first of all, that goes onto a smartphone, and then we actually load all the software on for you, and we sell it as a complete product.
Okay.
So you just buy the phone from us. It comes with all the software on it. Yeah.
Got it. More about PinwheelGPT when we return on Tech It Out. I'm your host, Mark Saltzman. Stick with us. We got a lot more coming right up after this short break.
Follow Mark Saltzman on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. Listen to Tech It Out whenever you want.
We are chatting with Dane Witbeck. He is CEO and founder of Pinwheel, the company that sells kid-friendly smartphones, as well as now PinwheelGPT, a free download for both iOS and Android devices. So I'm looking at the pinwheel.com website. So these are phones that people may know already, like Google Pixel.
Yes.
But you've preloaded the Pinwheel UI, the interface, and everything into it, the software.
Yeah, there's actually like 7 apps that go onto it, including networking layer and, admin layer, deep stuff into the operating system. Yeah.
Got it. All right. So that's the phone. Now let's chat PinwheelGPT. Is this an app for that phone? And does it work with other phones like iPhone and so on?
Yeah, great question. PinwheelGPT is cross-platform. So it actually works on iPhones, it works on Androids, it works on tablets, and it's on the web. It will also be available on Pinwheel phones, but this is a free downloadable app that is available cross-platform. And it has a parent side and a kid side. So parents have their own login from kids. Kids can ask questions and get kid-appropriate answers. So the answers themselves are not going to be the same as you'd get from another chatbot. They're actually filtered through AI we've built ourselves over the last year in partnership with Georgia Institute of Technology. And that way we provide kid-appropriate answers, but we also provide parent visibility into those answers, which is really a key differentiator between this and any other products that we've seen on the market. So parents can actually come in and look at the questions kids are asking and the responses that the AI is giving back. And they can look for things like, is this accurate? Is it appropriate? Or do I need to provide more context to my kid in my conversation at bedtime tonight, for example?
I like that. All right. So just to be clear, PinwheelGPT is a free app for iOS, so iPhone and iPad, as well as Android devices, phones or tablets, and web, so even on a computer, that the child logs into and can ask questions and interact with. And the parents have a separate login where they can see what their kids ask and the answers that were provided back to that child. Does PinwheelGPT keep the data that the kids are asking? Is there any built-in privacy there for any concerned parents out there?
Yeah, it does hold the data. It has it for a short amount of time, and then we can delete it. We actually keep a lot of the data on the device itself so that we don't have to store so much of it in the cloud. But yeah, we do hold that data so that we can show it to the parent side as well, and then it will auto-purge itself when the parents request it.
If it is free, Dane, how do you monetize it, out of curiosity?
Yeah, so we actually offer free responses up to 20 a month. So you get every month free 20 question responses. And if you want unlimited, there is a paid pro option for that. And so that's one monetization option. It's $19.99 a month or $79.99 a year for unlimited. And then on top of that, we also, of course, sell our smartphone product. Sure. And so we hope that through this app that a lot of people will learn about our company and about our smartphone product. And so we have another monetization pathway through cross-selling, you could say, our core product for parents and kids, the Pinwheel phone. Because
it's called PinwheelGPT, I'm assuming here that you've licensed the OpenAI program called ChatGPT. Is that fair? And if so, could parents access a non-filtered, like a non-kid version of ChatGPT through this app, or that's something they would need to do separately through ChatGPT?
No, yeah, you're absolutely correct. We have utilized OpenAI's ChatGPT API to get some of the core answers. And then you can actually, through the work we've done in our own AI work, we can further filter that down.
Okay.
And make sure that every answer is child appropriate. And if you actually ask ChatGPT and PinwheelGPT the same question, you'll get quite different responses, with PinwheelGPT being simplified, sort of vocabulary for kids, shortened, making sure there's no inappropriate content for kids. Yeah, and then your other question, can parents access it? They could certainly ask it questions, but it would give them, kid-appropriate answers. So we just encourage parents, if they're interested in this technology, to go straight to OpenAI, which is what I do. No reason for a parent to really use it.
Well, hey, this is really great that there's something specific for kids. I think a lot of parents are going to be relieved to know that this exists. So PinwheelGPT, if they search for it at the App Store or Google Play, it's just one word, right? PinwheelGPT, no space?
No space, PinwheelGPT, and it's also at ai.pinwheel.com.
ai.pinwheel.com. And then if you're interested in the phones, you can go straight to pinwheel.com to take a look at the 4 or 5 phones that are available with the kid-friendly software pre-installed. Dane, it's been great chatting with you. Congrats on the launch of PinwheelGPT. All the best.
Thank you, Mark. I really appreciate it.
This show is powered by ASUS. ASUS creates technology for today and tomorrow's smart life, including its line of award-winning laptops, desktops, monitors, smartphones, tablets, and much more. For those in search of incredible, visit asus.com/US/radio for more info. That's asus.com/US/radio. And speaking of computers, don't forget to properly back up your important files. I set mine to automatically do so onto an SSD, a solid state drive, from SanDisk. I only trust SanDisk with my data, as well as Western Digital external hard drives. Some amazing sales last week over Amazon Prime Day, by the way. WesternDigital.com has more on SanDisk and WD. Have a great rest of your day, everyone. Looking forward to catching up with you next weekend for another episode of Tech It Out. Bye-bye for now.